It goes to something that I often think about politics, which is that people who are you do a politics podcast, as does Anthony. I think the one thing that people who are very interested in politics get wrong about politics more than anything else is that most ordinary people are not interested in politics, do not follow it, do not care, do not understand, or do not care to understand. I'm not saying they're incapable of understanding, but they don't choose to follow and to immerse themselves in the minutiae. So all the things that we kind of off-air before we recorded this were saying, this will do for Trump, this will kill him, all these. A lot of people don't know about those things or don't care. And as far as I can tell from the exit polls, the single biggest issue for people was the issue that is almost always the single biggest issue in every election, not just in America, but everywhere in the Western world, which is the economy. Are you better?
Hello, good morning. Today, I figure we all need to see something good, something lovely, and I have something lovely to show you. This is Morty, the new resident of Archaeologist Towers. He loves his treats, and we think he's part collie, part something else, so possibly even Chihuahua. He's smart as anything, very, very trainable, a little bit highly strung with other dogs at the moment, but cozy and lovely and generally friendly with people. And we're having a great time getting to know him, and he, so far, is having a lovely time getting to know us. So hopefully, no matter how you're feeling today, this little man puts a smile on your face. This presidential election result is giving me really eerie and strong Brexit referendum results flashbacks. Feels like we're now entering the strange post-vote, pre-implementation, bargaining, denial period where people are in shock and there's a growing sense of dread and realization, not only about what will happen, but also the number of things that we can't yet quantify that may well happen. And all the while being dragged in a direction that you don't really want to go by people who are strangely thrilled at the prospect of losing rights, curtailing the rights of others, and risking an economic storm, regardless of whether or not they recognize that they've been lied to. It's hard, and I'm very much feeling it on behalf of my friends in the US this evening, and I know how it feels. But also, I only know I can be this calm because it was 8 years ago now for Brexit. I find myself now, as then, angry with the incumbents for having not made a better case in this instance against voting into the highest office in the Western world a convicted criminal, a convicted rapist, a liar, a cheat, someone who hoards state secrets in unsecure rooms in his private residence, a traitor, a man who admires strong men and tyrants, and a former president who, according to members of his own administration, not least generals, is a fascist. That should have been an easy case to make. But now, as then, with Brexit, there was a sort of complacency, a sort of trust in the common sense of institutions that, of course, we know what we're talking about. It's obvious, in the case of Brexit, that it's a bad idea. No one's going to vote for it if we tell them that we don't think they should. No one's going to vote for Trump because he's so obviously not fit for office by our standards, by standards of decency. But this sort of institutional civility, this liberal democratic, small d, way of playing the game doesn't apply anymore. Or at the very least, if we want it to apply in a meaningful way from here on, it needs to operate in the real world. And that real world is filled with people who were desperate for change. Back then with Brexit, and now in Biden's America. Working people didn't feel that their circumstances were dramatically improving compared to what they remembered of 4 years ago. Yes, global circumstances and inflation has hit everyone. It hit us hard here in the UK. But how people feel is how people vote. And people felt as though they were being told the sun is shining when actually their heads were wet. And of course, yes, there are some unsavoury aspects to this vote, not least rampant misogyny seemingly in Gen Z with young men. That's deeply unfortunate. But I'm angry because this shouldn't have been losable. The very idea that Trump even could run for office goes against those values that, unfortunately, I think the Democrats and others take for granted as being sacred, sacrosanct, the way things are done, when very clearly it's not the way things are done. And it's a lesson that needs to be learned. So I understand how it feels to be facing this great big question mark. And I have sympathy and empathy, and I do care. It's taken the better part of a couple of days for me to bring these thoughts together for you, to recognize that familiar combination of shock, fear, anger, and dread. And now that I'm seeing it unfold more clearly in my friends from the US, but also people, for example, who I follow online, I figured it was worthwhile recording this reflection, partly as empathy, to reassure you that you're not alone, but also as a reminder that life will continue. Scary things may well happen, but throughout this process and these processes, there's going to be many opportunities to combat, to make your voice heard, and to make the case. And that is what happened with Brexit. The votes occurred, and then a long drawn-out process, a series of processes had to occur. People may want to smash things, break the state, and change all manner of stuff quickly for their own gratification, but in a resilient government and democratic system, it does take time, and there are opportunities. There are opportunities to lessen the blow. So I understand how it feels, but also at the same time, I don't. And that's exactly how it felt when the Brexit vote occurred. Lots of people were trying to comfort me, and it was like, well, that's lovely, but you're still in the EU. You know, you're not looking down a generational barrel of uncertainty. So I get it. But hopefully by getting it, and by saying that I'm here, it makes you feel better in some way. Take care. Just in case they blow off.
Just worried they'll come off the wall.